right at the top, the storyline of week 14, Jalen Hurts, only 17% owned coming into the week. He should be close to 50 to 100% owned by the end of this one, even if you're just blocking your opponent who may have lost a quarterback or something of that nature. Jalen Hurts was a beast. For fantasy, for real life, rally those Eagles troops, goes 17 of 30, so passing day, but that's not why you're picking up 167 yards and a score. Did what he had to do to move the ball on a great defense, the Saints defense, but what was more impressive were the 18 carries, the 106 yards against the number one ranked running defense in the league. That's going to make him a fantasy monster. He already put up 20, again, with 167 and a TD passing. That's what happens. Taysom Hill's been the quarterback 3 since taking over as the starter because the leg points at quarterback are so invaluable, and we just saw Hurts put up 100. I mean, that was like Lamar Jackson-esque with that type of rushing total as of last year. It's a cheat code when you can get a quarterback that does that type of damage, and now he gets Arizona next week, bottom 10 against quarterbacks. Dallas the next week, even worse. He's going to run wild these last 2 weeks. I certainly don't want to face him, whether I'm starting him or not. So I will be going all in to get Jalen Hurts, throwing all my waiver money to block my opponent, to start him if I need a quarterback. If you lose Taysom Hill this week because Breeze is probably going to be back, Jalen Hurts, go right to your next running option at quarterback. I thought he looked very, very solid. Clearly the team rallied around him. In terms of what he means for the rest of the team, too, I know this isn't necessarily part of the waiver wire show, but Miles Sanders, resurrected from the dead. I'm glad we recommended him a ton on our sit start show, 11 a.m. on Sundays. 14 carries, 115, and not one but 2 scores, in addition to 21 yards receiving on 4 catches. An absolute monster. The second highest scoring running back behind only Derrick Henry last week. That read option really got him going. And moreover, this kind of the offense plan they crafted was focal point Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts just running all over the place. He played 56 snaps, Miles Sanders, is compared to only 15 for Boston Scott and 2 to Corey Clement. That was a huge difference compared to the previous 3 weeks, where Boston Scott was getting closer and closer to a 50% snap share. So Miles Sanders right back in your top 7 running backs for the rest of season rankings with Jalen Hurts, this read option, this let's feature one guy, finally Doug Peterson, waking his ass up. It was great to see for Miles Sanders. Now everybody else on the offense besides Hurts and Sanders does lose out quite a little bit here. Dallas Goedert was the leading receiver, 4 catches, 43 yards. I mean, he's still starting for you at tight end, given how bad the position is if you own him and you've been using him. But it's certainly not going to be quite the aerial volume you're going to get out of a Carson Wentz, even though, I mean, what the fuck's that aerial volume? Just diarrhea through the air. But Rager, 39-yard reception, was just about all he contributed there, 46 total yards, and then 19-yard rush. So again, creative usage. They put a ton of those like air raid mesh concepts and that stuff in there. So he'll have his days, but you can't trust Rager in your starting lineup at this point. You can't really trust any passing game options outside of Dallas Goedert here. But you can love Miles Sanders. You can love Jalen Hurts for the rushing upside they are going to bring to lineups here down the stretch. Now at quarterback, if you missed out on Hurts, if he's already picked up and you still need somebody, or especially a 2-quarterback desperation streamer, we got 25 points out of both Mitch Trubisky and Drew Lock. Both are 10% owned in leagues, and they both have potential week 15 shootouts. Trubisky going up against the Vikings, horrible corner, secondary there. I was hoping Brady would light him up more last week, did not, but Mitch Trubisky could go crazy. They do bleed the clock quite well there in Minnesota, so that's the one thing, is you just don't get too many snaps against that team, given Dalvin Cook. But still, Trubisky can sling it. He had a great game. He's had over 20 points in 2 of his last 3 starts. And you can tell the dude's playing for his job. He's playing whether it's tryout film for another team or to prove to the Bears, I deserve one more shot. We shall see. But Trubisky is playing some decent ball, something I never thought I would be saying here in 2020, but it is 2020. So I guess, you know what? You can say any fucking thing at this point. It doesn't quite matter. And Drew Lock also had a big day, going, 280 and 4 touchdowns. Good Lord. Against the Panthers, a decent secondary coming into this week. Trubisky himself had 267 and 3 scores as well, outdueling Deshaun Watson on the other side with no weapons. But Drew Lock also getting it done, gets a Buffalo team giving up the most points to quarterbacks. I was kind of shocked to see that, at least on DraftKings wise, they are. So he could be a decent punt play against Buffalo. You get some Saturday afternoon action too with him. If you're desperate for quarterbacks, it's just more so the weapons with Drew Lock. Hamler's burning deep. We're going to talk about him in the wide receivers. Noah Fant was even there, and he still was feeding tight ends. Melvin Gordon's keeping the run game clicking. Like, that offense for Denver isn't too shabby when Drew Lock can be on. And now trusting him at any point is always risky. He's really had like 2 blowups in the season, and everything else has been 12 or fewer, like pathetic. But you're in a decent blow-up spot if you can keep riding this hot hand there. Those are the quarterbacks I would be paying attention to on the waiver wire. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.